right, everybody, welcome back to the Behind the Lava podcast. We are Fia Poco Samoan vets who like to chop it up and give our opinions on various subjects. Thank you, everybody, for rocking with us. It's been a minute, we've had some busy starts to 2024, knocked out some episodes and, got busy after that. And so now we're kind of getting back to it. Of course, Michael Tana was holding it down, whether we're chopping it up with guests, he's always that core foundation that keeps it rolling. And then sometimes just, of course, our business spotlights. He's always killing it with that. But I'm finally back on, and I missed it, because this is like I've expressed on this before, is a good outlet for me. But my name is Spencer Harmon. I'm going to be your host for this evening. Michael Tan, the foundation of Behind the Lava, the co-host here. And, right now it's just the two of us, because we stay, we have a rotating cast because we all be staying busy. Just getting back into it, like I said, just getting back at it. I might be a little rusty. Sorry if I'm a little more monotone than normal. Had a drill weekend this weekend. So, I've been yelling at kids all weekend and drying out in this Las Vegas desert. So please excuse me. So, too low. No. So anyways, just to get back into it, I'm going to kick it off. We like to do these icebreaker questions, usually when we got guests, but I'm going to just roll with this one since it was a kind of a hot topic on the internet for the last, 2 weeks or so. Kick it to Michael. This question was framed originally with this guy doing this man on the street kind of questioning. He's going around to random women on the street asking, hey, if you were stranded in a forest and you bumped into either a random man or a random woman, or a random man or a random bear, which one would you rather bump into? And it was funny because I think in that video, 9 out of 10 women said they'd rather bump into a bear than a man. And so anyways, Michael, what's your thoughts on that? Because I think it's different. I think it's through this question is specifically framed through the lens of a woman. So if you had some woman in your life, whether it's your wife or your daughter or somebody, would you rather have them bump into a random man in the forest or a random bear? It's because I'm not asking what would you rather bump into, because I think the point of the question was to frame it around women. So
that's a very good question. I would rather them bump into a bear, but it has to be a little cub bear. But if it's a big bear, I would rather have them bump into a man. So I know the whole thing was kind of centered around women being unsafe around men nowadays. But for me, I want my wife or my daughters to choose the man, because the man, there's two things that'll happen. You have to be faster than a man so that the bear can catch and attack them, or no, there's no other options. The man will either protect you or they become a victim. That's why I want my wife and my kids to choose a man, because ultimately man is supposed to be a protector, and hopefully the man they will bump into will protect them while they're facing a bear. So that's what I think, depending on the circumstances. There's always that 50-50 risk that you'll run into someone who will either screw you over or help you out, right? So every person you come across, whether it's a man or woman, you don't know their intentions when you meet them. I like to take risks, so choose a man. What do you think?
Man, so I'm a kind of expose myself here a little bit, because I got annoyed with the question almost as soon as I was asked it. It was just because I can't separate myself from my politics sometimes, and I'm rolling my eyes almost instantly, where I'm like, this is just some feminist stupid question, where I'm like, there is no way that if you know what a bear is and what it's capable of, there is no way you're picking a bear. I'm like, I get it. You hate men, you think men are evil, but let's be real here. you don't want to bump into a random bear in the middle of the woods. If you think that, then you've not been around bears. Like I said, like I grew up in Utah, and like small town southern Utah, and we're around wildlife, man. Like wildlife is dangerous if you don't know how to handle it. And it's like there's no freaking way. And I was like, I get it. Like bad stuff happens. But but more people statistically get killed by men. I'm like, yes, because you're around men more often. Like if you actually lived around bears more often, you'd see those fatalities go up. I'm like, and I was like, look. So when I was asked that, I was like, I would rather have my significant other, like woman figure, bump into a man, because I'm like, you can probably outrun a man more likely than you can outrun a bear. It was like, oh, just stuff like that. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna expose myself here because I'm like, I can't. I try to, but I can't separate my politics sometimes from stuff, and it might have been just a simple trivia question, but I'm looking at like, there's nothing simple with this. I know what you're getting at. You're just trying to push some feminist crap, but that's just me.
Today's episode is brought to you by Top Gun Home Inspection, a leading home inspection company in Utah. When it comes to home inspections, details matter. That's why Top Gun Home Inspection is committed to providing thorough and meticulous services. From the foundation to the roof, their experienced inspectors leave no stone unturned. They offer a range of services, ensuring that every aspect of your home is safe and up to standard. So, whether you're buying a new home or just want to keep your current one in top shape, trust Top Gun Home Inspection. Remember, a detailed home inspection today can save you from costly repairs tomorrow. Top Gun Home Inspection, where your home's health is our top priority.
Yeah, because women are complicated, right? When you ask them what do you want to eat, they'll tell you whatever you want, and when you go give them the options, they'll tell you, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. So I guess they wanted to make life harder by coming up with this trivia question. Obviously a bear, you wouldn't want to face a bear, but I know the intentions behind these questions. It was more of them trying to say that men are unsafe. But that's kind of dumb because, you have fathers and brothers, which is insulting them. So when you say that men are unsafe, how about your father? How about your brother, your uncle, your grandpa? So you're saying that you're not safe around them. So it's everyone's different. But I think that, the answer is obvious. Who would you want to encounter? That you would choose a man instead of a bear. Because I went to the zoo yesterday with my family, and man, them bears are big. They're huge. That is crazy that anyone would want to be around a wild animal.
Did you ever see that movie, The Revenant? I think it was The Revenant.
Oh, you're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio hiding in a dead bear?
Yeah, dude, he got mauled by a bear in that thing, and then that was so like when I saw that scene, I'm like, man, that was a good looking fight scene because I know the bear was CGI, but that was good. No, there's a part where like he hides inside of a dead horse. And it's like, but even just to keep warm, he did the whole Han Solo thing. It's like where he cut the horse open and hid in so he wouldn't freeze to death. But my favorite answer though to that question though is I think it was just 2 days ago. There was this UFC fighter at a press conference. Her name's Angela Hill, and she got asked that question by a reporter, and she just kind of shut it down because she's like, I'd rather bump into a man. She's like, look, I'm a mixed martial artist. I train around guys, and it's like, I think she even indicated like, yeah, she wasn't even saying she could take any guy, but she's like, I trust myself to handle a guy more than a bear. The bear would just freaking kill me. It's like, this is from a trained fighter woman, so it's like that's a good perspective.
And you're right about being able to outrun a guy, because statistics is almost 50% of Americans are obese, so they probably can't run. So So, yeah, you can probably outrun that guy. And you're looking at today's generation, they're all spending their time indoors, so not all of them go to the gym or running outside. So, look at me, I don't even go to the gym, but you get the point.
I have no doubt that you can sprint fast, but but yeah, I just hope that if I bump into a bear, I'm in a group, because that's my favorite saying. It's like I don't have to outrun the bear; I just have to outrun the other guy. Bear can eat him. But it was, let's see. So I thought it was an interesting question. It was weird that it just kind of took off, and like other questions have popped up, like see if this is the new version of this question or that. You can ask yourselves, like, would you rather run into P Diddy or have him run into Drake? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I heard there was an apology video of him that came out. I didn't even bother looking at it because, he's already all over the news with the video of him attacking his girlfriend, right? So I didn't even bother looking at his apology. Well, what are your thoughts on that situation?
Man, I did the same thing. I didn't even watch the apology video. I'm like, this is stupid because I'm like, you're not apologetic because you buried it, and the only reason that you're talking about it now is because it came to light, and it came to light because the feds raided your houses, and it was crazy because this happened in this hotel he was staying at in 2016, and supposedly he paid the hotel like 50 grand just to get that footage. And the only reason that footage is out now is because the feds raided his house and they stumbled upon it because he was holding on to it. I'm like, bro, why wouldn't you even keep that? You should destroy that footage right away. That's stupid. I don't know. You roll this back for old time's sake? I don't know, man. It was weird. But then, like, like, you're saying sorry now because you got caught. So I'm like, well, that ain't no apology. Like, you settled out of court with this chick. People were dragging her name through the mud, saying, oh, she was just a gold digger. She just wanted this and that. It's like, no, man, she really got freaking beat. She took the settlement because he bought the footage, and there was no way that she could ever have her day in court and have it swing her way. So she's like, let me get something out of this. That was dumb. I don't know. I didn't even bother watching that.
I came across something very interesting a few days ago. I was watching a documentary on Netflix. It was called 30 for 30 Broke, and it was about, I think that's the name of it, and it's about all those not celebrities, but athletes who made it big in the NFL, baseball, all the major leagues, and they pointed out that 78% of the athletes, when their term is done, 78% of them are either file for bankruptcy or go into financial hardships. So that was very interesting because the whole documentary was basically interviewing those who have filed for bankruptcy or have gone into financial hardships because many factors because they come from a young age, get drafted, and they spend their money without getting financial advisors or like separating themselves from whatever league they're at and getting their own private advisors, and their families screwing them over because they use their family members as a financial advisors. Or so many factors come into play, and they talk about how they went bankrupt. So that I found that very interesting, that all these people that we consider celebrities or high paying athletes are, they go through a lot of struggles financially because they either go gamble it away or they just don't realize the value of money because they go into money like millions, and they're spending like 15,000 a week. Like us lower class poor folks can't even imagine spending 15,000 a week, but That's an interesting documentary to watch if you have the time.
And that's almost like when we had that financial episode with our guests that were breaking it down for us, and that mindset thing that they were really pushing. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, I'm almost on that level too, like with the athletes. Not that I could ever make that much money, but it's like I've had 4 chances to get it right. Like I've deployed 4 times. To me, that's my version of winning the lottery. And that I usually live good for about a year after that, and then after that, I'm back to square one. It's like I couldn't take my little boost that I get from taking time out of day to day life, go overseas, tax free pay for a year, and then I come home and I still can't use that leg up to build into something else. I was like, man, I still got that bad investor mindset. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I wonder if, like in the NFL, the NBA, and all those major leagues, if they have an orientation where they warn the athletes after they sign their contracts and everything. Here's a step you have to take for you to succeed financially, so that you don't go broke once your contract is over. So I wonder if they even have those programs in place to protect the athletes, because one day you have nothing, then the next day you can buy whatever you want because you're making millions. So
Well, one of my favorite success stories actually is the rapper Chameleonaire. You remember him? Like it basically, he made that single "Right and Dirty." That was a big song, but the thing is like he probably could have just gone down as a one-hit wonder, and I guess musically that's kind of what he ended up being. But the thing is like I saw these articles talking about how that guy's balling. Like he's rolling in the money, probably richer than most of the most relevant rappers that are still in the game, because he took that money from his one hit and ended up investing it into tech. I mean, they invested into apps and all this other stuff. So he's actually still getting paid now better than if he was still a successful rapper, because he basically just took his money there, had his seed money, and made some wise investments. And so he turned it into something more. Just kind of moving on, we had a few other things on our mind, like, like sometimes we brainstorm these ideas of like what we want to talk about on the podcast. And, this is one that we've been trying to, kind of tiptoeing around, especially because we haven't been able to just get the timing right on it, because we kind of wanted this to be a broader discussion with more of our cast members. But, me and Michael are just going to throw this out. We'll probably revisit the subject later when when we're able to record with Ati and T. But it's just the subject of religion, but it's kind of hard to tackle that, because it's like, I don't know, that's a really broad topic, it's like, but, in Polynesian culture, the church is a big deal. Like it's one of the biggest factors that you can like weigh in when you talk about Polynesian families, Polynesian people, Polynesian culture, especially like, coming from what we know in Samoans. So like obviously that's worth addressing, but it's like, I don't know, like how do we approach even talking about this? It's like, because obviously like we have our specific sect of Christianity that we adhere to. Everybody kind of observes things differently. I don't know if you just wanted to start it off and just talk about your own individual journey with spirituality and religion. That might be a good starting point. I'm gonna just kick it to you, Michael.
I want to start from the origins of religions in our life, especially me and you, Spence. Let's talk about where religion first entered our lives, when we first remembered. Both of us were Christians in Christianity, but when did we first understand Jesus? When did we first understand God? When growing up, the first church that I remember was a Methodist church. I was in a Methodist church for a few years before my mom decided to move us to a Pentecostal, more like an assembly kind of church. So it was a full gospel Voice of Christ church. So that's when I spent most of my childhood, was being in a Pentecostal church. And then as a adult, around the age of 23 or 24, that's when I converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So from my point of view, yeah, I'm a convert, but I also learned other religions along my journey. So I first accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior at the age of, I think it was probably 9 or 10. I remember it was during a summer camp at the South Pacific International Christian Center School in Fatu Mafuti. Reverend Fatui, we addressed him as Reverend Fatui Laulangi. He held one of these in camps. Every evening we had our evening prayers, and we would talk scripture, sing songs, pray, and then he asked us who here wants to know Jesus Christ more, wanted to accept him as our personal Lord and Savior. That's when we felt the Spirit there, and I decided, hey, I wanted to be part of something special. So that was my experience. I've been attending a Christian private school ever since I was little until high school. So I was fortunate enough to actually go to a private Christian school. So I was learning about the Bible, learning about religion, being involved with all the coursework, schoolwork, and so I was fortunate enough to be one of those individuals who, I think that's one of the things that kind of molded my life as a Christian, growing up with Christian values, was because I attended that private school. So from there, fast forward, I have found a lot of meaning because of religion. I don't know about you, Spence, but if I didn't fall into a religion, yeah, people can do good without religion, but I think that it was a big factor of who I am, the person I am today, is because of Christianity. So before I keep spouting and keep talking, what are your thoughts?
Well, for me, it's like I can't even. There is no point in my life that I can reflect on where I didn't have the church in my life. So I grew up Latter Day Saint from the get go. My mom was a convert to it, and it helped her find a lot of peace in her life. She had kind of a rough youth, and this really helped her with it. And because of that, it was very important to her to put her kids onto the thing that brought her a lot of happiness. And so I was kind of the result of that. So my earliest memories are really like sitting down with my mom and her teaching us how to pray. I remember being a little kid. My uncle Taia was deployed to the first Gulf War, and I remember watching like the news and seeing the like stuff go, just news coverage of the war going on, and my mom explained that's where Uncle Taia is. And so when we would before we would eat our cereal, we had to say our prayer, like to ask for Uncle Taia to be safe. It's been my constant in my life. But like being born into something, it doesn't mean that there is a point where you have to factor in your own decision on embracing it. I can't just keep espousing what was pushed onto me as a kid. At some point, for it to become real, it's got to, be internalized by an individual. And that sounds like kind of what you did when you said you were like 10 or whatnot. It's like that sounded like a conscious effort on your part to accept it. And it's like, I was baptized when I was 8, as is the tradition in the LDS church. But about the time that I was a teenager, I started going over like, hey, do I really believe this? Especially because also in the LDS faith, like when you turn 19, typically if you're a male, especially, you go be a missionary. And I was like, I'd better know that I actually personally believe in this if I'm going to go spend 2 years of my life preaching it to people. And so, yeah, towards the end of my senior year in high school, I ended up kind of just doing a lot of like personal research and prayer and meditation, and just really felt like, it kind of, I felt overwhelmed. Like, yeah, this is the path for me, and this is what God wants for me. And so I've just kind of stayed steady with that ever since. I'm not always the pinnacle example of Latter Day Saint, but all I can do is try, and I know that's all that God wants us to. That's what God expects of us, is that we try. He knows we're not perfect people, and so for me, I'm grateful for its structure in my life, because it's exactly that. It's given me structure in my life. Like even when I just started this new job, one of my friends was like, our new coworkers was getting to know me, and I just kind of just told him right out that I'm a Mormon, but I did that because it's like sometimes I'm not as outward about letting people know that, and as time goes on, it becomes awkward where I'm trying to explain like, oh, I don't drink, I don't do this, I don't do that. It's not any personal shade towards you. It's just this is my personal belief system that kind of dictates certain things about the way I live my life. And I figured, now that I'm kind of doing this like fresh start with this new group of coworkers, let me just put that out there first and foremost. Because I have, people that I love to death that I spent entire deployments with. They knew that I was religious, but I'm always afraid of coming off preachy or whatnot. So like I try not to name the church I'm in. And so, but lately I'm just like, I'm gonna just say the name of it, so that way we can just start from square one. If you have more questions, let me know. If not, I'm not gonna. Don't freak out. I'm not that dude that's here to preach your ear off or something. That's not me.
One of my biggest struggles when I converted to the LDS faith was, I grew up learning, studying the Bible most of my youth, my childhood, until adulthood, and when I left. One of my biggest struggles was learning a whole new scripture, which was the Book of Mormon, learning the Articles of Faith. It was one of those things where, you've stuck with the Bible your whole life, and now you're trying to understand. You're trying to like compare and understand the Book of Mormon and the other scriptures. So that's been one of my struggles, is learning something new, because every day for me when I go to Sacrament or Sundays and I learn the lessons on Sundays, it's something new for me, because I don't know all the characters in the Book of Mormon, all the parables, everything, because to me that's still a foreign, a whole new world to me. Even though I've been in the faith for a while now, it's hard to let go of what I've learned when I was, attending, when I was a Pentecost. It was hard to let go some of the things that I learned growing up attending private school, because yeah, there's similarities, but there's a whole world of difference when it comes to the LDS faith. So I'm sure a lot of converts who've been in other religions before, I'm sure they have the same struggles as I have, but we have to find a place where we were able to meet, kind of balance ourselves when it comes to religion, because I want to have my kids grow up in a religion, and when they're adults, I still want to give them that option to choose whatever their religion they're going into. But I know I'll probably get hurt for them choosing another religion other than what I'm in. But that's the free agency that we have. So that's just a remark, is the struggles of a convert.
Are you a veteran, military member, law enforcement officer, hospital worker, or educator dreaming of owning your own home? Frontline Heroes is here to make that dream a reality. Their program is designed by a group of realtors, lenders, and escrow specialists who want to give back to those who served our communities. Here's how it works. Their realtors pledge to contribute 25% of their commission, while lenders chip in half a percentage towards closing costs and other fees associated with buying a house. It's their way of honoring your service and making home ownership more attainable. Contact Dan Taylor at 801-512-4200 to learn more and take the first step towards owning your own home. Frontline Heroes, turning dreams into keys.
I always like that perspective. And it's like, just me, like, every time I hear stuff like this, it's like, I mentioned it earlier that it's been a framework for living my whole life. And I think some of the most effective examples of that is from when I was a missionary. I went to be a missionary when I turned 19 years old, from ages 19 to 21. All I did was try to bring people into the church. And so like I still kind of think in those terms and patterns when like I hear stories like yours, and it's like basically like the missionary me, and like actually me to this day would tell anybody, it's like, well, you know what? I'm not over stress about, there is always something new to learn. There's always something new to learn. We'll never know it all, not until the day that we can stand beside God again. And so it's like the measure of your faith and your standing with God isn't like how many scriptures you can just spout off the top of your head, and how extreme, like understanding, like the characters and the parables and all that isn't as important as understanding the concepts and the lessons that we teach. It's the feeling that it brings to you. Like that's the more important side. Those other things, they're nice details, but, doesn't make you better or worse, church member. If you're struggling to like hold on to these concepts, that's part of the journey, and it's a lifelong one. I think when I kind of first stumbled on understanding this is like when I went on my mission, I was very understudied. I felt like, man, I'm probably the first missionary to come out here that hasn't even read the entire Book of Mormon. I remembered like the prophet at the time was a man named Gordon B. Hinckley. He was really pushing for everybody to read the whole book within a year. And I remember like, I'll get around to it. I'll read it here and there. The point is just to understand it. But then I get out there, I'm like, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff I don't understand. And so I'm like stressing about it. And every morning I'm waking up early, studying the scriptures, trying to like memorize everything I can. And then I kind of realized over time that like I was actually being more detrimental to my understanding of things, because I was trying to understand like this broader concept, deeper doctrine, like fine detail stuff. But the most important things, like when I like refocused my studies later on as a missionary and just focused on the basic lessons, faith in Jesus Christ, baptism, like receiving the Spirit, etc., like the basic stuff. Once I started just focus on that, everything else actually started to fall into place. I understood the more complicated topics better when I just focused on the plain simple stuff, So that's why, like, since then I was like, you know what, this other stuff, it'll come with time, but it's the feeling and it's the simple stuff, understanding that's going to help me grow more. That's the foundation I need to have laid in order to build the house up, I guess, But anyway, sorry, I don't need to turn this all into like the Mormon conversion episode, like this is why I was like, I don't know how we approach this subject, because me and you are both the same faith, and it's like, how do we do this without either like, it's almost impossible to not sound preachy, so apologies if we're going too much on a rant with that.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up something that I saw earlier today. It was from the Uso Thomas Fadili with All Pro Concrete Cutters. He posted this, and it's going to be about the LDS faith. So our job as members of Christ is not to baptize new members to the church and fill up church halls. Our job is to bring joy and hope through Christ. And then when I scroll down the comments, you'll find someone who commented a Bible verse from the book of Matthew, and they're saying that, Jesus gave us the authority to baptize people and make disciples of all nations. And basically he was saying that what the other guy was saying was we should be baptizing and bringing everyone into the church. But Thomas was saying, no, our job is to bring joy and hope through Christ. So what I found from this interpretation is Thomas was along the lines of quality over quantity, and the other guy was coming from the side of quantity over quality. Well, what are your thoughts on that? Because as a convert, when I entered the church, and I can't get the concept of always bringing in people. Well, I get the concept we're trying to grow the church, but the idea of always seeking people to get them baptized, to me it's a little different, because what if that person isn't 100% after they get baptized or whatever? So what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you served your mission. Has your ideals or beliefs change from, do you still want to get people baptized every day, or do you want them to be happy and then get baptized?
For me, it's like my ultimate preference is that everybody of their own free will sees that this is the way that God and Christ wants them to go, and because of that, choose to become baptized. But I see the value in what was posted originally. Is like basically there's that old saying, you catch more flies with honey, it's like, than vinegar. It's like the vinegar can be like, basically, if you're too pushy, you're pushy, preachy, like you just like nagging people nonstop. Hey, accept this. You got to be baptized, or this is this or this. And it's like, that doesn't bring people in. It's like, going back to what I said earlier, it's like just focus on the plain, simple stuff, like starting with that base level. And from there, they start their own spiritual journey that I think more ideally would bring them to wanting to be baptized. But I mean, there's a fine balance, because it's like sometimes also people aren't going to accept an invitation they never received, so I think I want people to become baptized and, accept this gospel, but I don't try to be overzealous with pushing it, because you may actually do more damage than good and push them away from the church as a result of trying to recruit them in. It's like, look, I think that's why I see like the value of what he originally posted. It's like, just hey, what, I don't, whatever makes you happy. But while we're on the subject, here's what makes me happy. Here's what helps me find fulfillment in my life, and because you're my friend, you're my family member, I love you. I want that same happiness and fulfillment for you. But like, also part of the happiness and fulfillment comes from the fact that you find it yourself, not that you were pressured into taking it. I think like you said, like sometimes somebody might get pulled in, but maybe they were pressured, and then now they feel overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, what I just get myself into. Yeah, I don't want that to be the case for them. So I remember when I was a missionary, this is what, to me, I don't know, this always stuck out to me as one of my favorite experiences when I was a missionary. We were going around this small town in Edmonton, Alberta, called Athabasca. Really small town, beautiful place, beautiful scenery. When you think of like beautiful Canadian wilderness, like this is a place that exemplifies that. We're going around and like we're knocking on doors. And, if people don't want us to share the message, just say no. That's cool. We'll walk away. I'll never hound you, be so pushy. But when this old lady like answered her door one time, and she was like, she invites us in, but then she starts getting all hostile. And what she wanted to do, what we, the term we use, I don't know how many Christians use this term, but like they wanted to Bible bash. She wanted to pull out her Bible and say, hey, this is why you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. And the thing is, at this point in my mission, I was actually kind of well prepared, because some people, it happens, and I had counters to her accusations, and it's like, okay, well, how do you do this? And then I started getting on the offense. I'm like, okay, well, if you're pushing that and have not answered for this, how do you answer for this? And now I start turning into the jerk, because now I'm trying to like smash her faith. And I'm like, you know what? And then I realized after a minute, because I even like threw a question at her. I'm like, how do you account for that? And then like she's just like quiet and like sitting there, and it was kind of awkward. I'm like, you know what? This isn't right. This isn't good. I'm not helping her with anything by doing this. So I even started. I'm like, you know what? Don't answer that. You know, like it's not the point of this is like we're here sharing a message of upliftment and joy. You know, like and you know me coming over here trying to dash your faith that's already given you something like that. How is that being productive? You know, it's like I'm actually probably hurting her more than helping her. And so I said, you know what? Don't answer that. How about we just change the subject? Let's not even talk about the gospel for a minute. What do you need? Do you need a hand with anything? And then she ends up, well, she's like I said, she's a little old lady, and she's like, she actually needed some help with like some yard work and stuff. I'm like, all right, let's go do that. And so like me and my missionary companion, we just go outside, we help her do yard work, pick up sticks, like mow her lawn, different things like that. And we would go and like keep visiting her. We never talked about the church ever again, but she was such a sweet old lady. And here's the crazy part is that she actually started bringing us food. I remember to this day, she made us like this homemade chili, cornbread, all this stuff. And it's like, she was the sweetest old lady. She ended up becoming like one of our biggest supporters, just as far as like keeping us fed and, you know, just super sweet. Love her to death. But we never talked about religion ever again. But you know what? It didn't matter because me going in there trying to be confrontational about her religion wasn't helping bringing her in. And, you know, maybe in some other point in this life or the next, she'll reflect back on that time that some missionaries visited her, and maybe she'll want to go into that. That's on her. But like, you know, I hope that. But even if not, you know, like we shared some good moments, and to me, that's going to like the heart of what he posted, where it's like we just want to bring people happiness through Christ, and living that Christ-like example is more important than like debating the scriptures in my mind. Anyways, sorry, that was a long rant.
Yeah, that goes along the lines of finding that joy and that hope, especially if you're trying to convert people. Is if they don't find that joy and that hope and that happiness, once they get baptized, because I used to be a ward mission leader, and what I saw was, especially if you're in other states or countries other than Utah. If Utah, you'll see the LDS faith everywhere. But if you're in an isolated city or town and you have no support, not a strong support, once you get baptized, you can easily fall back to stage one. The person has not found that joy, has not found that hope or happiness to have that fulfillment in their life to keep staying in the faith. So I think that's a huge problem. Is there probably has to be like a plan where, well, there probably is already a plan, but just finding the people, creating or making that, you know, the relationships that you've already said. You don't have to convert them, but the time will come when they will, if they want to accept the LDS faith or not. So that's from my experience. I think Thomas Valiu might be right, finding that joy and that hope.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, and one thing too, you just reminded me of something I meant to comment on earlier when you mentioned that it was hard for you to like learn this new scripture and then also set aside some of the ways that you grew up with. But the other approach that I remembered as a missionary, and this is how I still think of it, is that we believed that most religions all have some semblance of truth. You know, it's like you look at this phenomenon of religion and as a broader concept. You can go to any culture in the world that basically have had no interaction with any other human beings, but they all have a concept of belief in like a spiritual realm or a god or gods or like an afterlife. And it's like, why is it that human beings all over the world, even those who have been disconnected from the rest of the human family, still all at some point have this thing we call religion or spirituality. What causes people to do that? And like, we just believe that it was like, look, it's because we believe that we had a life before this one, and that we once dwelt with God. And so our souls, like, there's an emptiness in us and trying to get back to him. And so like, basically we believe that every religion or spirituality has some semblance of truth, because part of us remembers what we knew before we came here, and we're trying to make sense of it and get back to that. So that's why when we approach people who already had a strong or firm belief in something, we admit, like, understand we're not here to shatter what you already have. We're here to take the truth that you already have and just see if we can add to it and build on that. That's all that it comes down to. But it was always meant to be constructive and not destructive, you know. Like, I don't know, there's some people that maybe they have different approaches, but my understanding was always like, hey, you know, you're not all wrong. You know, like, you got some legit truths that you're already familiar with. I'm not here to take any of that away, tell you you're wrong for any of it. I'm just here to say this is where our belief systems differ, and maybe we can add to what you already know. So constructive, not destructive.
So I wanted to bring up something because, you know, sending the missionaries out, there was an individual who approached me at some point. They were having a lot of second thoughts about going on their mission. So I won't go into details, but they were it's faith-based. They didn't think that they weren't worthy enough to serve a mission. Now, I haven't served a mission, but right off the get-go, I knew how faith works. Faith is something that you accrue every day, and while you're accruing it, you can easily lose it on the things that you encounter. So things like, you know, you go through a hardship, or illness, or whatever factor. So faith is something that you built upon. It's not something that, you know, you just go to the store and you buy. I want 1,000 of this, and now I can store it, and then when it's time to use it, you bring it out. So they were having issue with feeling worthy to serve a mission, and I told them, no one in this world would ever be worthy in how they feel. Like, no one will think that they're ever worthy of doing anything, you know, starting a job or business, or even serving a mission, or, you know, especially if it's faith-based. So I told him, you know, that this is a perfect opportunity for you to learn and to actually, I'm forgetting the term. It's in my head, you know, when you go through the experience.
This almost sounds like that imposter syndrome subject we talked about.
Yeah, it's almost imposter syndrome. But, you know, faith is not given to you. It's earned, right? You gain it. So that person is on their mission now, but, you know, it's something that came up to me. Like, each and every one of us, we go through our personal struggles when it comes to faith. We start to question things. We start to, you know, believe in things more. So I just want to say that, you know, for everyone, it doesn't matter your religion or what you believe in. As long as you are happy and you're willing to improve or to be better at something, you know, you will actually accomplish it, especially if you want to serve a mission. Because when you think about it, I'm sure you encountered it, Spencer. You were probably right off high school, right? And at that time, we're still young and we don't know much about the world. Yeah, you have a lot of anxiety and things bombarding you. It's a hard decision for a kid to make, going on a mission. So, well, what are your thoughts, Spence?
Yeah, you know, like, you know, as far as like a worthiness standard, as far as like strictly speaking, like within the bounds of the LDS Church, it's like we acknowledge that there's a line of authority, priesthood authority, and so there's a structure in how we go about basically determining worthiness. And it's like basically just go talk to your bishop, go talk to your stake president. They're there to guide you, not to judge you, not to, they don't just like disseminate forgiveness. They help you on your path to forgiveness, but obviously forgiveness comes only from God through Christ. But I mean, you're completely right. Where it's like you'll always feel in some semblance unworthy, because in some ways we all kind of are. That doesn't mean you're not worthy to serve a mission. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy to receive God's love. And like I said at the beginning of all this, sometimes I don't. If any people in my other walks of life see this and they're like, what is he talking about being all spiritual like he's some church dude? Man, this guy has a potty mouth. I hear him cuss all the time. He ain't, like I said, I'm not always like a pinnacle of a example of a Latter-day Saint, but my thing is I acknowledge that's my shortcomings and I want to be better. But I also know that just because I'm not all there, it doesn't mean that I'm not on the right path. Point is, I'm on it. I'm trying. God knows that He's calling on. In the case of missionaries, He knows that right now He's asking a 19-year-old who has no world experience to go out there and try to build His church. He knows what He's working with. We will always be like somewhat unworthy, but that's kind of the point, is to trust that God can make up for your shortcomings. Like I said, I hadn't read the Book of Mormon completely through when I first went, but by the time I finished it, I'd read through it multiple times. And not just the Book of Mormon, the Bible as well, the Doctrine and Covenants, etc. But it's like, if I judge myself from the start and I'd never taken that step, I never would have grown into it. And it basically set the tone for my adult life after that. It was after that I got more active with the military, and like my entire adult life, that tone was set. I've often reflect back on my time as a missionary and see how much that helped me. And so I'm like, don't let yourself miss out on great opportunities because you can nitpick at your own shortcomings, because you'll be able to do that for the rest of your life. Don't deny yourself opportunities that God's presenting to you because you're being too harsh on yourself. That's my advice anyways. But let's talk to your bishop. He'll help you.
Yeah. To our listeners, we're talking religion here from our personal experience. We're not trying to, tell someone to serve a mission or convert anyone to the LDS faith. But that's just one of our initial personal experience with our faith.
And on that, actually, if anybody's interested, what came to mind is that other podcast. I'm going to mess up the name. Muddy Roots podcast.
And Muddy
They
Roots
got in trouble. Yeah, was it Muddy Roots? They got in trouble a year ago for talking about flat feet?
Yeah, I think it was Muddy Roots.
Bro, these dudes, basically their podcast is a fight cover. These guys are all based in St. George, but the reason I'm bringing them up is because when that popped off with that made me laugh a lot, first of all. But second of all, they've talked about religion quite a bit. I believe they're all LDS, or at least a few of them are. One of the guys in there, I think it was Gage. I'm sorry if I messed up which person it is. I suck with names anyways. But he talks about his whole spiritual journey. And it was it's really touching, man. I don't know. It was just something where I'm like, man, that was such a cool personal way. But basically talking about how I went from this to this, and he acknowledges his shortcomings and stuff along the way. He's like, look, that's not the point. And he just kind of phrases it really good. And I was like, man, that was that's when I started listening to their podcast more on the regulars. Cause I was like, man, that was a really touching way to frame this discussion. So if you want to hear more, similar takes, or not similar, but if you want to hear other takes on this subject, I recommend digging into their archives and finding their discussions on that, because I like their that was some good listening to me. Anyway, so just shouts out to them.
Yeah, shouts out to all the poly podcasts that are out there. Some of them, Muddy Roots, Culturally Rooted, Y-Oos, Big Buddy.
Politicking.
Yeah, Politicking, Big Buddy, Cisco's podcast. So there's a whole bunch out there that you can tune into. Yep, FICA Podcast. Shout out to them. They're out there sharing stories, telling everyone stories, and that's what we need to kind of get some of us through the day. So, but I also
Yeah,
want to
man, this subject will keep coming up too, because like I said, the church plays a big role in poly lives. So like, they're all going to have different takes, but similar ones too.
Yeah, and shout out to our title sponsor, American United Federal Credit Union, who is sponsoring our annual Pacific Island Veterans Day dinner this November. So they are our title sponsors. We do have our event sponsors, and that's Pacifica Caterer. We have Frontline Heroes and the Veteran Business Resource Center. So shout out to all our sponsors. Thank you for helping us serve our veterans and trying to honor their legacies.
100%. Thank you all them for real. And Michael, I'm glad that we did this. I do miss the podcast when I'm not able to get on it. We'll keep it rolling, and to everybody out there, thanks for continuing to support. Reach out to us, any questions, comments, topics that you have to suggest. Thanks for rolling with us. And until next time, thanks for joining us on Behind the Lava. Fuck.
Working on my interests, it's who I am. I'm trying to make these digits look like EINs. When the help ain't free, you all help me. Salute to folks who turn their names to LLCs. The wealth is in itself to help a non-profit. To be better women or better men, whether business by veterans or common folks with a dream. We're all born with the same strength. We tread waters that were untouched. Let's be on the same wavelength. Behind the lava, front of our eyes. Let our legacy live off it when we're up in the sky. All signs point to us to help someone make a difference. With God as my witness, let's talk business.